With Quant having a little bit of a decent recovery as of right now, do I think better days are ahead? Absolutely, because I think this could very well just be a small taste of what Quant could do during this bull run, because $5,000, that's still my price target, even though that's not financial advice. But keep in mind, that's currently over a 30x from here. So there are still ways to go, in my opinion, and I'm still dollar cost averaging into Quant. I'm still acquiring it because, again, I think better days are ahead. I think 2024, this could just be a small taste. 2025 is when I do believe that something like Quant will truly shine. But before I get into that, let's take a look at why the Quant network is really one of a kind. It's pretty much on a league of its own, in my opinion, because if you think about it, there's a lot of caca problems as of right now in the blockchain space. Even though, there's a lot of good aspects as well, there's a lot of problems because it's not that developed yet. But the Quant network, they understand this and they're trying to solve a really big issue, in my opinion. And what is that? That is, the way I take a look at it, building on only just one blockchain. Because let's face it, right? This is very limiting. Like, who wants to be just stuck building on only just one blockchain? Imagine this scenario. Someone wants to build on Solana. Okay, that's cool, right? But then it's arguably not that reliable. At one point, Solana experienced 8 different network outages in just a time span of a year. So, of course, that's completely caca, even despite the low gas fees and amazing scalability of Solana. And also the fans, too, I would say. But then on the flip side, let's say someone wants to build on like Avalanche, but then they may not like the amount of, hype or the amount of fans that Avalanche has, which, let's face it, is not as big as some of the giants like, Solana or an Ethereum. Now, the Quant network, they understand this, which is why they allow for something called multi-chain applications to be built through something called the Overledger OS. Because, imagine if I can build an application that takes advantage of certain qualities of a certain blockchain, but then when this blockchain may have its weaknesses, I supplement that through another blockchain. That's a total game changer right there. And the Quant network, again, through the Overledger OS, it allows something called multi-chain applications to be built, which, as the name goes, allows, applications to be built on multiple blockchains and not just one. Because let's face it, right? We don't only just want to be stuck with one option. If let's say I'm a developer, I can use the Overledger OS to build an application that takes advantage of the security of the Bitcoin blockchain and also taking advantage of the speed of the Stellar blockchain. That's amazing. Now, of course, that's just an example, but, that's great, right? Because if you take a look at Bitcoin, sure, it's very secure, but is it really known for its lightning fast speed? There needs to be a supplement there, in my opinion, and that is the Stellar blockchain. But then the Stellar blockchain may not be necessarily known for its amazing security because, after all, Bitcoin is proof of work. So what is a better way than combining, the amazing qualities of the two? That's just the way to take a look at it. I mean, this is how fantastic it is. That's like having a Range Rover that can go off-road, but then you put like a Lamborghini engine inside or something like that. That's just an analogy, but that's just the way to take a look at it. I'm not that into cars, but yeah, this is just the way I take a look at it. But here's the thing. When people say, oh yeah, Quant has no future though, because, adoption is going to be caca. Well, I disagree. I mean, just think about this, right? Ever since 2021, when you take a look at the peak of that bull run, there was a lot of crypto owners back then. There was around 300 million at its peak. Now there's over 600 million, according to Crypto.com research. So it's only natural to assume that as time goes on, there's going to be more crypto owners, more developers, more institutional investors, more enterprise adoption, especially right now with the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF. I mean, things are just heading in a positive direction. I think 5 years on the line, 10 years on the line, there's going to be a need for multi-chain applications, in my opinion, because I think developers, they're sick and tired of building only just one blockchain. So, of course, as adoption for, the Quant network grows, let's say a lot more developers, use the Overledger OS to build multi-chain applications. It's only fair to assume that Quant is going to go along with the ride. Now, some people may think that, oh yeah, okay, that's cool and all for like the next 10 years, but in the next 6 months to a year, Quant really isn't going to gain like mass scale adoption as much as like, an Ethereum, for instance, right? Now, my argument is this. Of course, I understand that it's not going to have that for Quant, like in terms of mass scale adoption in a sense, defeating something like Ethereum. But in my opinion, it doesn't really matter because during a fully fledged bull run, people usually care about one thing and one thing only. That's hypothetical upside. So if they see something like Quant with a good community, with a good exposure, right, listed in a bunch of major exchanges, and at the same time having good fundamentals, which gives people, a sense of direction when it comes to the project, gives it clarity. I think that right there is a recipe for hypothetical success. We've seen this time and time again. We see, even something like Solana, right? absolutely skyrocket. Why? Good exposure, good community, fundamentals are okay. You also take a look at, Algorand, good fundamentals, good community, listed in a bunch of major exchanges. It's native token called Algo, of course. So we've seen this, become a very amazing recipe for many projects. And when it comes to Quant, I don't see why it would be any different. I get it. It's been a little bit boring. As of late, we've seen many meme coins outperform it. Even random Kaka projects outperform this, right? But then in my opinion, better days are ahead. And I think that, again, as the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships. Take a look at even Charles Hoskinson, who, by the way, is not only, the co-founder of Ethereum, but he's actually the founder of Cardano. He actually predicts that based on a video on November 26th, he stated how, in the next 1 to 2 years, he could very well see Bitcoin either being at the price of $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. So that's crazy, right? So again, a year or 2 years after November 26th, right? According to him, at least, he's only speculating, right? I can speculate too. He can do the same, right? You take a look at, again, either $250,000 up to $500,000 for Bitcoin. I mean, caralho, porra. I mean, that would be crazy. Imagine if Bitcoin were to do that. Could you imagine what happens to altcoins? And just also, more specifically, you take a look at something like Quant. $5,000 at that point, I think would seem a little bit like highly achievable, in my opinion. Or should I say a little bit of a low target? Because if you actually take a look at that, I mean, man, imagine again if Bitcoin were to do that. Now, I think $500,000 is a little bit too optimistic, but let's say we even reduce that by 200,000. Let's say it's like $300,000 for Bitcoin, Quant at above $5,000 in price. I wouldn't see why not at that point. Now, again, $5,000, that's still my price target for Quant during this bull run. But I'm just saying, imagine if Bitcoin were to do that, it could be really insane. But of course, I don't have a magic crystal ball to tell the future. Again, I can only speculate. But when I take a look at the trajectory for Quant, how amazing it is, I just don't see why not. And you got to consider how the market cap that Quant would have, even at the price of $5,000, considering current circulating supply, wouldn't be insane. Some people out there say, yeah, this cryptocurrency is going to go to this price, but then the market cap required is like $2 trillion. That's like impossible, at least hypothetically, for like many altcoins out there, especially during this bull run. You know what I mean, right? It's just not realistic, in my opinion. Now, when you take a look at Quant, reaching the price of $5,000, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $60 billion. I mean, only that? Now, some people may think that's crazy, but think about this, right? When you consider how Dogecoin reached over 80 billion, BNB reached over 100 billion, I mean, caralho. I mean, come on, man, this isn't too much to ask for. I mean, when things are like, looking hypothetically this realistic, I have to start speaking some Portuguese because eu sou brasileiro de coração. But yeah, besides that point, here's the thing. When it comes to Quant, I think better days are ahead. I'm just in patience mode as of right now, or should I say patient mode? There's airplane mode. There's also patient mode because here's the thing. I don't want to get caught up in my emotions because a couple months ago when Quant was doing pretty much kind of caca, everyone told me to sell all this type of stuff, move to this other meme coin and stuff like this. But I was like, nah, and I'm not going to do that, man. And so far, Quant has done a pretty good recovery. I'm not saying it's the best, many meme coins are outperforming this, right? But in my opinion, better days are ahead because I do believe that, let's say 6 months from right now, and even let's say like a year from right now, could you imagine what Quant could be? Now, only time will tell, but I think that the growth could very well hypothetically be exponential because if Quant decides to break $1,000, right? At that point, that's such a big psychological, milestone or barrier for a lot of people to be like, oh, wow, this could very well be massive. Then 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Then at that point, 5,000 seems very easy. Now, this is just hypothetical, but just think about this, right? Cardano's native token called ADA for a long time was doing caca. At one point, the price was around 3 cents. It was very difficult for it to go to the price of $1. But then after $1, what happened? $2, then $2.50, then even beyond. So if you think about it, sometimes a certain barrier needs to be crossed to see that amazing growth. But when it comes to Quant, it hasn't crossed that yet. It hasn't even crossed $500 yet. So again, once it does that, people are like, whoa, $1,000 only a 2x. Then once it goes to 1,000, they're like, okay, wow. They start, a lot of people start FOMOing into it, I would say, because they have this confirmation, goes to, let's say, 2,500. At that point, 5,000, it's just a 2x away. So we've seen this time and time again. Now, I'm only speculating, but again, I think around 6 months to 12 months from right now, Quant at the price of $5,000 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And that's why I'm still very bullish on Quant and I'm not giving up. And man, I think this right here could very well just be a small taste of what's to come in the future. And again, I really can't wait. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.